My name is Rich Peterson. I'm the director of Madison Horror, the Madison Horror Film Festival. I'm also the associate producer for the Graveyard Show podcast based out of LA. And also Freakshow, the horror host for Bordello Horror. And of course, this is my friend.
Yes, I'm Marie Lang. I've helped out Rich in the past with his wonderful project that he had going on in Madison. And I am June the Meat Cleaver at your service.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I just had to tighten a bolt here. It's not always the way. What with cameras and monsters, you have to tighten bolts. Okay, so with the first question again, how did you first come in contact with horror hosts?
Well, myself, when I was growing up back in like 1978, 79 through 84, I know he was on air a lot longer than that, and there was a couple horror hosts before him, but I didn't get a chance to see those. We had a local television show in Madison, Wisconsin called Lenny's Inferno, hosted by Dick Flanagan, aka Mr. Mephisto. And I'd stay up late at night and I watched that, and he was showing all the great movies that I wanted to see. They were showing like Creature from the Black Lagoon and the stuff that they were getting from MGM or Warner Brothers, perhaps. And it was just good stuff. And I just always thought I wanted to do something like that.
See, he had connections who had connections, and I met Rich down in Madison, and he's the one that introduced me to this whole scene, and become a very, extremely good friend of mine. And I thank him so much for letting me into his little project.
Into the bordello.
Into the bordello, yes.
So at what point did you decide you wanted to be a horror host?
Let's say from 95 to, about 2005 to 2007, I was actually a music promoter, booking national, regional, and local artists in a couple of music clubs around Madison, and was just really getting fed up with the whole music scene and the competition that was going on in the music scene. And I just always knew that I wanted to be on stage somehow. I mean, I do play guitar, I do that sort of thing, but I just decided to do something different. I think it was Halloween 2006. I was actually, my band, Grinder, the Judas Priest tribute band, was going to do the Halloween Spooktacular, and I was at my niece's house letting the dog out because she was out of town, and I was watching AMC or Bravo or something, and I saw Michael Hines from the New York Horror Film Festival, and I'm like, I really didn't know this stuff was going on, so I decided to do my own Madison Horror Film Festival, and it just came into play. It's like, well, we need some way to promote the festival and other stuff going on, so I came up with the idea of, merchandise for the show, and Calendar Girls was the first thing that came to mind. What are you going to call them? Harlots of Horror.
Harlots of Horror.
Well, if they're Harlots of Horror, they obviously have to have a pimp. So I came up with the character Freakshow, the Deacon of Darkness, the posthumous pimp, Freakshow, and from there we just kind of built the show.
And that's where my character came from too. I was one of the Harlots of Horror, still am, but Rich came up with the name June the Meat Cleaver. I always went by the name June. I started my one-woman band called June's Nursery. And I told him about that. I actually just met him on the bus.
I told him, like, when you're walking
you can call me Marie, or people call me June too. And then he's the one that actually came up with June the Meat Cleaver. So yeah, became one of the Harlots of Horror. But he actually gave a really great name for me.
And I think horror hosting is just coming out of nowhere anymore. It's like people are coming up. With the online opportunities, it's much easier for people to do it. People are doing it in their basements, in their apartments, in their garage, whatever. But the horror host is a lot more recognized, and 2010 is the year of the horror host, and this convention that we're at right now is just amazing.
Yeah.
Now, when you were talking about the Harlots of Horror, you were talking about like Calendar Girls. Was there actually a calendar, or?
Nope, that's still in the works. We've got about 8 out of 12 picked out right now. And so by 2011, hopefully we'll, 8, 9, I forgot to count you.
I was going to say, I'm like...
All right, well, we're almost there. So this year, the
I think
Madison
there
Horror
should just
Film...
be a calendar of June the Meat Cleaver.
Well, so do I, but I wouldn't sell it to anyone or even give it to anyone.
Now this may seem like a pretty obvious question. Is June the June of your calendar?
We haven't discussed that yet. Actually, I'm thinking March, perhaps.
March, yes, March.
Blow people's minds, put it here in July. What? Okay, so the movies that you show, were you fans of them before you showed them, or are you kind of learning about them as you're watching them?
Actually, when we first started out, of course, we're doing public domain films. We've done Hospital Massacre, starring Barbie Benton, Drive-In Massacre, Junior, which was a film back from like 1984, 85. That's how we started out. We were doing those online originally, but recently, you know, through the Madison Horror Film Festival, we've had the opportunity to meet a lot of independent horror filmmakers, both feature and shorts. And we just get in contact with these people, and since we don't allow it for download anywhere, we've been showing more current independent films. I think 2 weeks ago we showed Dr. S Battles the Sex-Crazed Reefer Zombies, directed by Brian Ortiz. Tonight, while we're filming this, we're showing 100 Tears, a killer clown classic filmed by Marcus Cook out of Florida. It's actually a special effects artist. So you can just imagine that the blood and gore is way over the top. And on top of that, we're throwing in a bunch of bloody little secret shorts here and there. So the films, I have seen them before, the newer films, because they've been part of the Film Fest, this and that. But it's just our way of getting the independent filmmaker out there.
Have there any that kind of stand out in your mind, either as just favorites or just new ones that you're glad you found?
Actually, I think most of the submissions that we've had to the film festival and the ones that we're showing, we haven't seen any bad films. It's amazing what independent filmmakers can do these days. There's more resources available to them. You know, equipment's cheaper and it's so much easier to edit stuff on your computer. But I do have to say, if I had a favorite out of, I'd say two. Dr. S Battles the Sex-Crazed Reefer Zombies, which you can find out more about at classicfilmsproductions.com, or Blood on the Highway, which is a totally politically incorrect vampire film out of San Antonio, Texas. bloodonthehighway.com. Check out the trailer on YouTube. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Honestly, just, you know, people coming up with their own stuff, and these independent filmmakers really are the ones that are truly passionate and truly believe in this whole genre. And yeah,
the classics were the classics. Even the gritty grindhouse type into the early 80s slashers, those are still good. Those are great in their own right, and all these remakes and rehash or re-imaging, as it were. Maybe Rob Zombie would say that. I don't know. The independents are where